A Georgia police officer was in jail on Thursday, charged with voluntary manslaughter and violating his oath of office, after state investigators said he fatally shot a black man who was running away from him last week. Kingsland police officer ZECHARIAH Presley surrendered Wednesday to the Camden County Sheriff's Office after the Georgia Bureau of Investigation obtained warrants for his arrest. A G.B.R. statement says Presley, who is white, was following a vehicle that stopped at an intersection on June 21 when the driver and passenger ran. Presley pursued the driver, later identified as father of two Anthony Marcel Green. ZECHARIAH Presley, 25, left, has been charged with voluntary manslaughter and violating his oath of office after the cop shot and killed Anthony Green, 33, right. Last week Presley, 25, caught up with Green, 33, making physical contact, but Green again fled, at which time Presley fired multiple shots resulting in the death of Green, the statement says. Green's family attorney, Reginald Green, released a statement saying the family is seeking justice. Tony Green was gunned down in cold blood by Officer Presley. We are encouraged by his swift arrest, but we intend to remain vigilant until he is brought to justice and the family is able to get answers as to why this happened in the first place. The senseless killings of black men by police must stop, the statement said. Local media reported that Kingsland Police Chief Daryl G. Griffiths recommended terminating Presley, and Kingsland City Manager Liz Bell agreed. Presley, who had been with the Kingsland, Georgia police for 13 months, has since been fired. The crime scene is pictured above on June 21. Records show that this isn't the first time Green, a fast food restaurant manager, had a run-in with the officer. On March 12, a woman called police in Presley, and another officer responded to the scene. The caller said Green and another woman were trespassing, but no arrest was made. Green's friend Dan Norris told NEWS4 Jack said the other officer that was with Presley the night of Green's death had hassled him before. He said the other officer, who has not been named, had pulled him over for minor traffic things before for no reason. Related articles. Previous one. Next Pennsylvania police officer who killed Antwin Rose is teenage girl shot dead in Las Vegas, was caught in gang. Exclusive. I had my own personal terrorist, ex-wife of shackled and shamed, 6 of the 8 Dominican Street gang. Share this article. Share. The department also released Presley's personnel file, which shows he was hired last year despite there being 10 red flags on his application. In his application, Presley allegedly admitted to physically fighting with his wife. buying or selling marijuana, shouting at people, being involved in 2-3 accidents, and being arrested for reckless, eluding, speeding. Presley also racked up 9 incidents in his year in the police department, at one point parking outside the house of a black man who had complained to the chief, prompting the man to say that Presley had him fearing for his life. In response to these incidents, Presley was told he needed to improve procedures and protocols. Local media report that Green's record includes a traffic ticket in March for a suspended license and a 2016 misdemeanor arrest. He had 8 interactions with police on file, which could be for calling the police, traffic stops, or an officer initiating an interaction. Presley is being held in the Greene County Jail rather than the Camden County Jail, where he worked as a guard before joining the police force. Georgia officers' disturbing pattern of behavior before shooting black man ZECHARIAH Presley, 25, was charged with voluntary manslaughter and violating his oath of office on Wednesday in connection to the shooting death of black man Anthony Green, 33. Presley had been an officer with the Kingsland, Georgia Police for 13 months when he killed Green. After Green's death, local outlet NEWS4Jax obtained Presley's personnel file, showing he was hired with the department despite admitting to 10 red flags on his application, including domestic violence. And in his first year on the job, Presley was involved in 9 incidents that were recorded on his file, many of the incidents involving violence towards black men. Below are some of those incidents. Per NEWS4Jax, investigation found Presley drove 100 miles per hour in his own car while off duty to try and catch a driver who was driving recklessly. The driver got away, and Presley was suspended for 1 day without pay for his actions. A black man wrote a letter to the police department complaining about a traffic stop involving Presley in which he said he was left fearing for his life. The man said that Presley and another officer would intimidate him by parking outside of his house. Internal Affairs found the claim to be unfounded. A black woman felt that Presley racially profiled her during a traffic stop in which he gave her a verbal warning. The woman was invited to talk to his supervisor, but never showed up for the meeting. Hospital staff complained when Presley dropped a suicidal woman off, but didn't check her bag, which had a handgun in it. Presley tasered a drunk and disorderly black man who threatened to throw bullets at officers. Presley tasered a white man who was acting suspiciously and refused to show him the contents of a bag which had drug paraphernalia in it. Presley tackled an armed drug suspect to the ground, who was with Presley tasered a white man who showed up for an appointment with the Camden County School Superintendent and refused to leave. In a positive incident, a black citizen wrote a letter to the department in December 2017, commending Presley's professionalism.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for coming out today. My name is Attorney Reginald Green, R-E-G-I-N-A-L-D, Green, G-R-E-E-N-E. And I'm here with the family of Tony Green and also my co-counsel, Dr. Malik Shabazz, M-A-L-I-K-S-H-A-B-A-Z-Z. That's just for the record. Okay, again, thank you for coming out today. We are here to speak on behalf of the family of Tony Green. We have been retained as his lawyers in this terrible and tragic situation. As you know, his life was taken just a week ago by Officer ZECHARIAH PRESLEY. And while we are encouraged by the fact that the officer has been arrested and terminated from employment, we understand that the battle is just beginning for justice for the family. The family is interested in justice for Tony and for his children. It is our job and our goal to be vigilant in this process to make sure that justice is served. We believe that there are many, many red flags that came up throughout the course of the employment and hiring of the officer that were either ignored or not properly addressed. We intend to investigate this matter. It's very early on, and we are finding troubling facts. The more we look into the matter, the worse it seems to get. And we find it telling that the G.B.R, we find it telling that the G.B.R, within 1 week of their investigation, took it upon themselves to issue the warrants for his arrest. And again, that's encouraging, but we're only at the beginning. And you're going to hear from my partner, Attorney Malik Shabazz, further on this issue. And we'll take questions at the end. Thank you.
All right. My name is Malik Shabazz. I'm the National President of Black Lawyers for Justice. This is a work in terms of combating police killings, combating police misconduct. This is a work that we do all over the country. And I have to say that this is one of the worst cases that we have encountered, one of the most obvious cases. Before I get started, I want to take a moment of silence for Tony Green. And I want us to remember who we are here for. So let's take a moment and reflect on this precious life that we have lost. I think it's okay for us to say, long live Tony Green.
Amen. Long live Tony Green.
Long live.
Long live.
Tony Green.
Tony Green.
Long live.
Long live.
Tony Green.
Tony Green.
I'm here with his family members, all of his family members who are here, all of them. I'm here with Miriam, his aunt. I'm here with family members, Miriam, his cousin, his Miriam, Benefield, his cousin. I'm here with Wendy and his daughter here. He's in obvious pain at this moment. His daughter, Tony, and I'm here with his mother of his other child. This is Miss Velvet. He's here, Pastor Knight here, who's supporting us, and others, Mr. Bobby Worthy and others. Thank you to all. And let's get right down to business. This is, again, one of the most serious cases in the country. This is a case, Presley was obviously stalking Mr. Green, hunting him down in a fashion that we believe is like an animal at this point, and committed such wrongdoing that the Georgia Bureau of Investigation has arrested him, and we will be in the courtroom at 2 o'clock to see a rare occurrence. It is a rare occurrence in the United States of America where a police officer is charged for killing anyone, particularly an African American man. And that is significant and that is telling. that shows you how compelling the evidence must be to have probable cause to bring him into the courtroom. And we want to be there because this does not often happen, but that shows how strong the evidence must be. It means that ZECHARIAH PRESLEY has already exceeded the burden of the federal civil rights charges that we would intend to bring against him. He's already exceeded the federal civil rights charges level of excessive force and unlawful seizures and wrongful death. And now he is being charged on a criminal level. As much as we are here to condemn Officer Presley, and as much as we are here to press for his conviction, we want to say and thank the authorities that have arrested him. Thank you for finally showing the citizens that some justice can be done. Some justice can be done. Let's give him a hand, please. And we want to make sure that this ends in the right way. The family and the community want to make sure that a conviction is brought about, not just an arrest. We want a conviction, not just an arrest. We want what? A what?
Conviction.
So this family, we as attorneys and all supporters are going to be very diligent in monitoring this trial and pursuing all that we can to make sure that Officer ZECHARIAH PRESLEY is behind bars and behind bars for many years. Second, we want to say that this is a systematic problem. This is a systematic problem. The city of Kingsland and the authorities here, according to our investigation, have failed in their hiring, failed in their training, failed in their monitoring, and failed in their supervision of their officers, and specifically failed in regards to ZECHARIAH PRESLEY and to doing what they should have done to prevent this tragic act from occurring. This officer has red flags all in his record, red flags in his background. He has complaints for stalking. He has other things in his background that have been admitted by the police department, domestic violence and other things. He has flags on his record. Should not have been hired, and certainly in his excessive amounts of excessive force complaints since he has been on duty here. Someone should have intervened. Someone should have put a stop to it. So as much as we hold Officer Presley accountable for the wrongful killing of Tony Green, we must also say that the city and the system failed Tony Green as well by allowing this officer to be on duty. He should not be on duty. He should not have been in a position to stalk and to hunt and to assassinate Tony Green. And that's what we have to get to the bottom of. And that's the problem across the country. If it's Anton Rose in Pittsburgh or it's a Stephon Clark in Sacramento, it's the individual officer, but it's the system that either tolerates or promotes a custom and practice of deliberate indifference, deliberately ignoring the behaviors of these rogue, and I will say even racist officers that are killing us. And justice must come now.
Amen. Yes.
Justice must come. And we are here to advocate for it in the strongest of manner in every way to make sure justice is carried out. In this town, they tell us that the young men in this town are stalked and harassed by the police. In this town, they are telling us that it is the police department, that it is the system that is constantly persecuting the people. And so, as I conclude, I want to say that we are happy to see him charged. We are vigilant, we are vigilant about his conviction, but we are equally as determined to hold the system accountable and to make sure that systematic changes are registered here so that no one has to suffer what Tony Green suffered on his last day on the planet.
Next generation.
But it's gonna be hard to find.
Next generation.
We're gonna select the things that go into our mind.
Next generation.
We're gonna shape our own destiny
To the next generation.
and alter the face of history. All along the road, freedom and democracy, gaining moral strength, wisdom and stability. There's gonna be a victory for the common man, a vast awakening all across the land, all across the land.
To the next generation.
This I want you to
To the
understand.
next generation.
I ain't gonna
Wait till the next generation.
cause
This is the next generation, man.
And because of this system, because of these officers, the family here is grieving. The family here, cousins and aunts and persons that knew him and loved him will never have the chance to engage with him and to benefit from his life. His daughter will never see her father again. Will never see her father again. And it's going to take lots of time to heal those wounds. Lots of time, especially when a child is at that age. They are conscious of what's going on. They love their fathers. Taken because of bad policy, bad practices, and a rogue police officer that has taken life into his own hands. And so I would like you to hear from his cousin, from Marion, and from the family. And I want you to hear from the pastor. And then we will await the court hearing at 2 o'clock. But we want to say on behalf of Attorney Reginald Green, on behalf of myself, on behalf of Black Lawyers for Justice, that we are going to fight this case with all that we have and to make sure that justice is done for Tony Green, and so that there are no more Tony Greens to come behind. Well, let's bring on Marion. Come on. Speak your piece, man.
Tony Green, who we passionately and we love and we knew as Punch. He was a loving member of this community. He was funny, artistic, and humble. And our family is hurting. This is a pain that is unexplainable. This is a pain that I don't want, or we don't want anybody else to feel. This is a pain that is more than hurting. We want justice. We have questions, and we don't understand why. We just want justice. It hurts. It just hurts so bad.
Justice for Tony.
Justice for Tony Green.
Justice for Tony.
Justice for Tony.
Justice for Tony.
All right. I don't, you have something? Speak
I
your
just
piece.
want to say
This
I
is-
love everyone.
This is
who
Wendy,
is
the
here.
mother of Tony Green's daughter, Tony, who is here with us now.
Thank all of you for coming here. This is not just a devastation for my child. This is a devastation to our community. I have 4 sons that I'm scared when they're walking out the door. And we've been having this problem before this happened. And this is it. Thank you to everybody. I love all y'all. His sisters and his children need justice. We need justice for Tony.
Justice for Tony.
Justice for Tony.
Tony.
Justice for 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 Tony.
right. We're happy to take some questions.
You mentioned holding the city accountable.
Yeah.
How do you plan on going about that? You also mentioned potentially pursuing legal action. So how are you going to hold the city accountable?
Federal law and federal civil rights law prohibits a city or a municipality from having, for failure to hire, failure to train, and failure to supervise its officers. If there is a custom and a practice or an unwritten policy in the department that allows Officer Presley to continue on duty and to engage in the deadly actions he engaged in, then it's not just Officer Presley who must be held accountable, it's the city. And it's the police department and the city who are responsible for failure to supervise him when they know in advance that he has that potential to take the life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness from a citizen. In this case, Tony Green. It's the city. And so, yes, legal action is I would say, imminent. It's imminent here. And it's violation of federal civil rights law, United States Code 42, Section 1983. Clear violation here. The officer, as I said, because he's probable cause, he's been arrested, he's already exceeded the civil standards for violation of 42, 1983, excessive force, unlawful seizure, as well as other state statutes, wrongful death, assault. Liability of Presley is clear. But what we're getting at also here is the system that allows Presley to roam and to stalk. You know, we have police reports where citizens have complained that after an action with Officer Presley, that he had used his vehicle to really stalk the complaint and to park his police car in front of the complaint's home. And other complaints, we're only getting to the bottom of it. Racial profile. An African-American woman says that Presley just follows her till she had to pull off of the highway, and that he was admonished. And there's other evidence. There's evidence in his background, and there's evidence in the policies in general that the officials here were not doing their job when they had notice. Attorney Green?
Excuse me. It's our position that swift legal action will occur. We've already given notice to the city, and we believe the county and the state may have responsibility as well. So, in addition to the criminal process, we are diligently working behind the scenes to make sure that we take all the steps necessary to preserve all claims on behalf of the family. And again, the investigation is ongoing, it's early, but we intend to leave no stone unturned. Any and all claims that we bring will be done so vigorously and aggressively and as swiftly as possible.
You said the county and state also possibly liable. Can you give us an example explicitly where that was?
Well, in this case, the fact that the officer was from the city of Kingsland, that's just part of it. Okay. Under Georgia law, there's a series of different interactions and relationships among the different departments between the county, the city, and the state. And the point is that we're going to explore every possible avenue to make sure that every base is covered. Kingsland is a city of 16,000 people, but it's within Camden County. Camden County has some oversight in certain areas. That's why the Camden County Sheriff is who took him into custody. And so to the extent that there's any responsibility on their part, we intend to investigate that, go after it. And to the extent that the county is an arm of the state, we intend to investigate that and go after it. Like I said, we leave no stone unturned. And our goal is to figure out what happened, why it happened, hold those folks accountable, and make sure it doesn't happen again.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
I see you on TV. You travel across this nation. And my personal question to you, both of you, is what drives and motivates you to come to the little small town of Kingsland such as this, to take on such a challenge? And we know that many other civil rights leaders and organizations, in my opinion, do not travel like you do. So what motivates you to come and do this in a little small town such as this?
Well, we come when we are called. I would rather not have to make these trips. I would rather that America be a nicer place. I would rather not be called to funeral homes and morgues, and I would rather not have to read autopsies. I would rather not have to do any of that. But unfortunately, duty calls. So we come where we're called to come, and these fights are tough fights. When you're battling legally cities and counties and municipalities, they're some of the toughest fights you could ever imagine. And they defend their officers and defend their officers' conduct all the way. Or either they separate their officers' conduct from their responsibility. So a lot of either people or leaders or attorneys are not willing to engage in these fights, but they have to be fought, and they have to be fought vigorously. They have to be fought vigorously, and it will. And in this case, this is a civil, part of this is a civil fight, but we're at a criminal level. And we want to also tell here to the authorities here that we want this case prosecuted correctly. We want this case prosecuted vigorously. We don't want any errors on behalf of the prosecution, and we don't want any mistakes when the ball is already inside of the 20-yard line. We expect the prosecution to come through with a victory. We don't want any excuses, and we don't want any mistakes because the stakes are too high. Yes. And so, like Attorney Green just said, we're looking for the county's responsibility, the city's responsibility. We're exploring every policy and practice and custom inside of the police department, and we're going to make sure that we do all that we can, and that we support the family, the pastors, and everybody to do all that they can to get justice for Tony and to protect the young men who are here. The young men who are here who say that they are experiencing the same things. And we also have video from other officers here just beating and punching the hell out of citizens. Is that right?
Yes, it is.
This is just the tip of the iceberg, and you're going to hear from this town further. There are going to be other things coming up where you'll hear from them. You'll see them in court today. And I think that it's safe to say, as tragic and sad as the death of Tony Green is today, that with these good family members and people in this town, that they're going to make sure that Tony Green's life is not in vain.
Justice for Tony.
Pastor, could you?
I have a question. Have any response from the mayor here in this city regarding this? Has any of the council people had anything to say?
We have not gotten any direct response from them, other than we put out certain requests for information, and we are receiving information, but we haven't had any official statements on the issue so far, other than what came from the G.B.R.
All right, so
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Based on the press release this morning of another follow officer who was out on bail, killed his wife and killed her boyfriend in another city, don't you believe that there should be no bail hearing? There should be no set bail? Because this officer did that murder while he was out on bail.
Oh, I mean, we don't believe that a bond is appropriate here. Yeah, clearly, we don't believe that a bond is appropriate here, and we will be in court to advocate the position that he should remain behind bars. He's a danger and a threat to society. And with his erratic actions, he's a flight risk as well. He's a flight risk as well. So that's why we will have a strong presence in court today. And then it's at 2 o'clock.
Where at?
Camden County Courthouse. And the funeral, can we have the funeral, Miss Marion? Can you tell us about the funeral and wake arrangements?
The funeral is going to be held Saturday at 11 at the Rock Church here in Camden County.
Okay.
Okay, with that, we want to again thank everyone for coming out. We think this is an important story, and we hope that it gets the attention that it deserves. Far too often, these cases are coming up. They're coming up often, and we're getting used to it. We don't want to get to the point where we get used to it, because this is not something that we as American citizens should have to get used to. So every case is important, and we want to do our best to make sure, again, that the family gets justice and that Officer Presley and all those accountable are held responsible to the highest degree. Thank you.
Justice for Punch.
Justice for Punch. Justice for Punch. Justice for Punch. Justice for Punch. Justice for Punch.
I expect the police department to pay for his funeral since they participated in the homicide. Put that in the record.
I'm sorry, I'm in your way.
Black male, got one running. Got two running.
Tonight, you're hearing the dramatic moments before and after a Kingsland police officer opened fire, shooting and killing a man after a traffic stop. It took just minutes, an altercation and multiple shots fired. In the end, 33-year-old Anthony Green died Wednesday night. First Coast News reporter Nick Perot was asking the tough questions as state investigators worked to piece together what happened during those 6 minutes in Kingsland.
Good evening. As the Georgia Bureau of Investigations has only named Officer ZECHARIAH Presley as the officer involved in this shooting. Want to learn a bit more about him this evening, looking into his background, how long he's been here within the Kingsland Police Department, and any prior law enforcement experience he's had. Was unable to get that information, both from the Kingsland Police Department and the Georgia Bureau of Investigations. The message this evening is for those out in the community, and especially his family, to be patient.
This town is a very small town. Everybody knows everybody.
But tonight, as the focus shifts to one of their own officers involved in a shooting, ZECHARIAH Presley, most of the community is silent. A trip to Officer ZECHARIAH Presley's last known address to hear what led up to those fatal shots came up empty-handed.
I left there feeling hopeful.
Pastor Mark Knight met with District Attorney Jackie Johnson earlier in the day.
We will have the answers that we're looking for in the days to come.
The status quo of the last 48 hours since the shooting of Anthony Green.
Officer Presley, he the shooter.
Green's family and friends told us at a memorial Thursday, Anthony Green told them Green filed multiple complaints against Officer Zachary Presley.
I done went down there to the DA office and filed a report that said I feel like he's gonna kill me in the night because he stalked me in the night.
We filed a request to the Georgia Bureau of Investigations and Kingsland Police Department for those complaints and have yet to hear back.
It's frustrating. There's a lot of tension, but I would like to tell the community, my community, the black community, and the white community, we need to wait, be patient.
And we're learning the family expects to hold a vigil tomorrow at 5 o'clock, still working on a location. Keep it right here for the very latest. We're in Kingsland tonight. Nick Perot, First Coast News, on your side.
My name is Melvin Brown, and I am the mother of his second daughter, ZECHARIAH. She's 12 years old. Yes, that's correct. Okay, just wanted to talk to me about, you said you were motivated to speak today because of your daughter. Yes, I didn't bring her here today because this is a lot on me as an adult. So her losing her father, it's overwhelming. She's in preparation for services on tomorrow, and it's hard. This, the media, the cameras, again, it's a lot for me. So it's definitely a bit too much for her. Being 12 years old, I just don't want to expose her to that. I'm slow. It's bad enough that I had to break the news to her about her father not being here anymore. Then she finds out how he lost his life. Then for us to continue talking about it, it's too much for any young child. So me being a good mama bear, I choose to, shadow her and cover her and kind of break the news to her in my own way so that she can deal in her own way because it's not easy. She's not a child that speaks out verbally a lot concerning how she feels. She chooses to be quiet. She sits in her lonesome by herself, and that scares me because I don't know what's going on in her head. So it's tough. It's really tough to be her strength, and it's really tough hearing everything that's going on, not knowing what to believe, what not to believe, because it's a lot. It's just a lot. But the only thing that I can really and truly say right now
is that God has the final say. In my home, we are God-fearing. And we trust and we believe that there is no failure in God. And with that being said, everything that should be done will be done. And when you have a God-fearing family, so we don't have to get out here and bicker with one another. We don't have to explain ourselves to anyone concerning anyone thing. We just have to do things in the right form and fashion because God is a God of order. So with the family, myself, my daughter, the family of Tony's sisters, and everyone else that follows, aunts, uncles, who have you, as long as we continue to keep that our main focus, I think that we're going to definitely come out on top. The arrest is just the beginning. Again, I'll end with saying there is no failure in God. We're going to be just fine.
5 tonight, we are covering breaking news involving a deadly police shooting in Kingsland, Georgia last week. We have just learned moments ago that tonight, Officer ZECHARIAH Presley has turned himself in to the custody of the Camden County Sheriff's Office.
The officer arrested for 1 count of voluntary manslaughter as well as violation of his oath of office. First Coast News, we broke this news story within the past hour. You got the alert to your cell phone with a push alert about the arrest.
Now, the Georgia Bureau of Investigation, the GBI, issuing an arrest warrant stemming from the shooting last Thursday that led to the death of Tony Green. He was shot after a traffic stop in Chase.
Tonight, First Coast News reporter Hani Rodriguez is speaking to a family friend of the victim and learning more about this investigation. Hani.
Hey, Anthony, I had the opportunity before this news just came down to speak with Pastor Mac Knight. He is a family friend of the Green family. He has been the one talking to the media and helping the family through this entire process. Well, today they had their second meeting with the district attorney as well as the GBI. He told me earlier that they received very pertinent information. Of course, they are hopeful and are at peace a little bit more now, but he told me they are still waiting for a piece of key evidence in this incident, and that is body camera video that has not been released yet.
Tony can't talk. Unfortunately, he's dead. So that body cam will be his voice, and it'll be what really happened. Because the only person that can say something now is the officer, because Tony is not here. But the body cam will be the exact situation that happened.
Again, this body camera video has not yet been released, but we are going to be speaking with Pastor Knight in just a little bit here and getting his reaction from the latest news. We're live in Kingsland coming up at 6. I'm Hani Rodriguez, First Coast News on your side.
Hani, thank you. And tonight we are digging deeper and we are getting you some answers tonight. Newly released documents obtained by First Coast News provide an inside look at the background and history of the Kingsland police officer now charged with manslaughter. On your side tonight, we're going through hundreds of pages of his personnel file. The file includes a complaint filed by a man saying he feared for his life, believing he would be, quote, taken away by Presley and another officer, even claiming Presley parked in front of his home after making a prior complaint. Now, in his job application, several items were listed as things that should be reviewed before making a hire. Those included issues with domestic violence, marijuana, and complaints of yelling at people. Presley has been on the force since last summer. He had complaints involving traffic stops, including a woman that accused Presley of racial profiling. Presley has been placed on administrative leave pending the outcome of a GBI investigation into the shooting.
And as an officer in his official capacity, and what we're driving at now in our investigation is to affirm that this is the bad policy, the bad practices, the bad hiring, and the bad training of Kingston and Camden County in allowing Presley to be on duty to stalk and kill citizens. That is the crux of where we are. And so we have good information that there's bad policies and there are bad practices. And now we have to go further. We have experts we're bringing in and so forth, but a full and complete and thorough examination of the policy and the practices of the police department
yes.
are taking place.
Are you aware of the political repression that's going on from the mayor by several of the citizens are saying that the mayor, which by the way is locked up in his office right now, refusing to talk, that is really carrying on this injustice that happened with the police department. He's supporting that. You have any thoughts about that in terms of the political repression that's going on in this town?
The mayor of this city should be out front right now denouncing the conduct of his officer. I think they fired him, but I say too little too late. He should have been fired ahead of time and Tony Green would be alive and we would be here in another capacity. And so the mayor should be stronger, but what we want the mayor to do is to join us in a full investigation and in a full uprooting of the bad policies and supervision that is going on in his department. He has to overhaul and overturn his department because it's not just a bad apple, it's a bad system that is allowing bad apples to kill people. It's more than just Officer Presley, and Pastor Knight can tell us about that.
Yeah.
That's from what I've heard, but he can confirm it because he's here.
Yes, we've had several incidents with these police officers just think they can do what they want to do, stalking and harassing young black men in this community. Just riding by them, parking their police cars in front of their houses, standing out like they're on the cell phone, blocking them in the street so they can't get by in our black community. So something needs to be done, and I certainly have had this talk with the mayor. I've expressed my personal opinion. I know the mayor personally, we're friends, but I told him I'm totally disappointed in him as a mayor and then as a black man. That you need to say something.
Oh, this a black man over there?
He's a black man, and he needs to say something. He lives across the track where do something. He lives in these areas where he has seen these police officers doing certain things to our young black men, and I think he needs to overhaul his entire department, from the police chief down to everything needs to be looked at. Policy, procedures, the hiring.
Just to give our viewers from Jacksonville who have a kind of different system than what's here,
yes.
Can you tell us a little bit about how the police are they appointed or are they elected by the
chief of police?
Yes.
They're appointed. The sheriff is elected.
The sheriff is elected.
And the mayor is elected. We have a county. Camden County is as a county seat. But in Camden County, there's 3 cities. There's Woodbine, Kingsland, and St. Mary's.
And about how many of that population would you say are black?
I would say it's about 65% in Kingsland. Out of the 16,000 residents, probably about 10,000 are black.
A black resident?
Yes. Yeah.
And what's the median income over here?
About 38,000.
38,000?
Yes.
Okay. You know, one of the things I brought up, and I was dead serious, is the police paying for the funeral.
Yes.
And I'm serious about that. What's your thoughts on that? I mean, because the system impoverishes us. It continues to keep us impoverished. And I'm concerned about that.
It's not even really a concern, it's a mandate.
It's a mandate.
Oh, okay.
This is a crime victim case, clearly. A crime has been committed. Definitely a basis for the city to cover everything because one of their employees has murdered a citizen.
That's right.
And they should be put in the entire bill.
Well, Pastor, can I ask you a question? I see we have some attorneys from out of town. My question here is a simple one. What other civil rights organizations or leaders do we have in the city that have been fighting and that will continue to fight once these attorneys leave the city? In other words,
I want to say one thing. Attorney Green is from Georgia.
Yes, right, Atlanta.
And as you said, I'm here all the time.
Right.
And I let him answer. Okay. But I want to say an answer.
Okay.
I want to say that if the traditional organizations that you would expect are not here, guess what? Pastor is here.
Right.
So whatever they're not doing, these just like you saw Black Lives Matter come out of nowhere. It is these distinguished gentlemen's time to fill the void of what you're asking for. They are to fill that void. They are here and they're doing it.
And I have talked to Pastor Knight, future Black Panther.
And let's say this also. I want to say this about Bobby Worthy. We'll hear from him later. He's a Southern Georgia fighter for justice. And everywhere in Southern Georgia where there's justice to be done, he's there and helping it to bring the right parties together. So whatever they're not doing is okay. But I guarantee you that these here from Jacksonville. He's 30 minutes away. He's a lifetime free.
My pal, I would like to go back to you for this reason. If there is members here that are with the NAACP, the SCLC, and if this is in the state of Georgia, I'm asking a simple question. Does the NAACP or any of our known organizations came to embrace you with this incident? That's my major thrust.
Some of them have. Some of them have.
That's my question.
Yes, some of them have.
That's good.
Some of them are embracing it. We started an organization with other pastors and civic leaders of this community called the Concerned Citizens of Camden County. So that has been formed now due to this atrocity.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
New tonight, the officer who shot and killed a man after a traffic stop in Kingsland, Georgia, is on administrative leave.
The GBI says Officer ZECHARIAH Presley shot and killed 33-year-old Anthony Green near King Avenue. Investigators are working to enhance the dash cam and body cam footage to get a clearer picture of the shooting, but they say releasing the video would jeopardize the investigation. First Coast News reporter Eric Alvarez has new insight on the timeline.
Investigators are still trying to figure out exactly what happened between Anthony Green and Officer ZECHARIAH Presley Wednesday night. But radio calls obtained by First Coast News suggest the police officers did not give dispatchers a whole lot of information that night.
Squad 3 Engine 3, you're assigned to a black male. Officers aren't giving us much information. We asked them what they needed a squad for. They realized it was going to be a male subject for shots fired.
That radio call from a dispatcher to first responders went out at 10:48 Wednesday night, approximately 6 minutes after officers reported 2 men running from a traffic stop.
Got one running. Got 2 running.
According to the GBI, Kingsland police tried to stop a car driven by 33-year-old Anthony Green when the 2 men ran off. One of the men got away, but Officer ZECHARIAH Presley found Green near the Pineland Bank on King Avenue. The GBI says a brief altercation ensued. Presley fired multiple shots. Green died. The next day, friends and loved ones left notes and balloons at a makeshift memorial.
It's just sad.
The GBI says the officer was wearing a body camera. Green's family is demanding to see the footage.
We just want justice. We just want to know what happened and why did the officer have to shoot him.
But the GBI says it will not release the footage at this time, claiming doing so would jeopardize the investigation. The first responder communications obtained by First Coast News captured the moment one of the officers reported the shooting at 10:45.
Black male. Shot fired.
4 minutes after the chase began. 2 minutes before, dispatchers didn't know what to tell first responders.
Officers aren't giving us much information.
6 minutes in Kingsland, leading to 48 hours of unanswered questions. Right now, investigators are still interviewing witnesses. The GBI has not identified the other man who ran away from that traffic stop. The GBI is awaiting the autopsy results from a crime lab in Savannah. In Kingsland, Eric Alvarez, First Coast News, on your side.
First of all, the mayor's got a night job. He works on base, and he's probably sleeping right now. And also, I've talked to the city councilman and the mayor, and they have been advised by their legal counsel to stay low and to avoid adding controversy.
He did tell me that, and I told him he don't have to address the case, but I think he should address the situation.
Hold 1 second. I have a problem. I mean, as a mayor, you are still the political representative. You cannot go silent on the case lest it appear that you are covering up something. You covering up. He wasn't out there on the scene. He didn't follow Tony Green, so how can he speak up? Unless there's something in his policies that he is being advised against speaking out because he will let something out that we're looking
for. Constitutional rights.
I've known him.
And there's no wrong with apologizing.
They worked together way back.
Yeah, but they on the hush hush.
Well, let me answer this. Let me say this. The mayor is just like any other organization's spokesman. The mayor is a spokesman. Right. The mayor does not run the city. The mayor does not make the decision. He is just a spokesman for the city. The city council is his boss. The mayor has no judicial power whatsoever. He is only a spokesman. He is nothing. He carries no judicial power. He just speaks for the city. That's it.
What I'm trying to get at is he doesn't want to inflame the situation and make things worse. I know many times in my life, I go in, I try and do something good, and it's so exciting.
All right, but listen, y'all, we finna cut this out.
Right.
We gotta get out of here.
Yeah,
all right,
thank you, Bobby Vernon. Hey.
One for the record.
All right.
We just wanted to say that we are satisfied with the outcome. We're still staying hopeful for the future. We still have a fight, and we're still praying. We're still on justice. We're still looking for justice, and we're going to get justice. As a family and everybody that's coming together for him, I appreciate everything. Justice will be served, as I know that.
Marianne, so the family is satisfied with the no bond?
Yes, yes, they are. Yes.
What was it like to see him in person?
I took a lot to hold everything in. It really did. It took a lot, but I know my brother want me to stand strong, fight for him, and that's just what I'm gonna do. That's right. We're gonna stay strong for Tony. Justice for Tony. Justice. Same thing. She just said, I finally got justice. Mary was M-A-R. I'm just called C-E-A, but he always calls me R-O-C-H. M-A-R-C-E-A-R-O-C. Thank you.
Can I say one thing?
I think you should talk to the attorney. You know, there's something right here. Listen.
Say one thing.
Yes.
One thing is important to be said. All right. It is important that the fight for justice be maintained vigilantly. It's important we maintain a strong fight for justice here because the judge made the right decision. Absolutely made the right decision. However, it appeared that the district attorney was willing to accept Presley being released. And giving him the benefit of the doubt as we go forward, we want to ensure that there's a vigorous prosecution that cuts no compromises with the defendant. The family, as testified, wants stronger charges. Is that right?
Yes.
The family wants stronger charges. And certainly, like in a case like this, no compromise on the bond should have been offered. It is an absolute no bond situation. So I just want to say that we must stay vigilant because we don't want a situation where Presley is charged and somehow or another the conviction slips away. I don't think the judge wants that, and neither should the district attorney.
News 4 Jax is working to learn more about the Kingsland policeman who shot and killed this local father. Officer ZECHARIAH Presley is now on administrative leave as investigators piece together what led to the deadly shooting of 33-year-old Tony Green.
They're doing the job. They're looking into it, and they're not just sitting there on their hands.
That's Tony Green's father. Right now, we're told the Georgia Bureau of Investigation is looking at video from the officer's patrol car and his body camera.
They're working to enhance that video, but what they can tell us now is that Presley shot Green following a pursuit and what is described as a brief altercation Wednesday night. News 4 Jax reporter Ashley Harding joins us live from Kingsland, where today Green's family met with investigators and the district attorney's office. Ashley.
Yes, this family still has a lot of questions, and we are working to learn more about Officer Presley. That includes his background here at the Kingsland Police Department. As Green's family still presses for information, they want it to be known they do have confidence in the GBI. The Kingsland Police Department isn't able to comment on the shooting death of Tony Green, but the investigation is moving forward with the District Attorney's Office and the Georgia Bureau of Investigation. Today, Green's loved ones met with both agencies at the Camden County Courthouse, saying they're sticking together as a family.
Our main objectives right now is to be there for the sisters and his children and with each other, you know. So
today, GBI identified Zechariah Presley as the officer who shot Green. While information about his police record isn't available right now, Green's family is confident answers will come soon. According to GBI, evidence left at the crime scene is being processed, as are the results of Green's autopsy. Green's family members wouldn't comment on the details of the meeting today, but spoke about their loved one.
He's a well-respected person in this community, and this community respected him as well. And he's gone, but he won't be forgotten.
Video from Officer Presley's patrol car and body camera are also being analyzed, a process Green's family knows will take time. Green had a passenger with him when he was stopped by the officer. That passenger ran away and has not been found or identified by police. And Presley's car and body camera footage is not being released at this time, pending the outcome of this investigation. Any new information that does come in concerning Officer Presley, we will keep you updated on air, as well as our website, news4jax.com. Live in Kingsland, Georgia, Ashley Harding, Channel 4, the local station.
Well, did you know Mr. Crime Boy just killed somebody? Well, what is your opinion on that?
Okay, Malik, as you watch the case, what did you think about the way it was moving?
I didn't like the way it was moving. I didn't like the way they let the defense attorney go on and on. And then when she stated her position, and then she brought a witness to try to testify that he was a church choir boy. And the state did not challenge the government witness. You know what I mean? The state did not challenge the defense witness. Did not challenge him. Did not ask him, was he aware that Presley had committed certain bad acts. So he was willing to let that go, and then what concerned me further was that he started arguing for release and conditions of release, when that's not what you do. You argue against the release. If the judge grants the release, then you start negotiating terms. You don't start off holding a man by negotiating. And then I felt that the lead district attorney should be here. There ain't nothing bigger going on than this. So I hope politics is not involved in this. And it's not won't be headed in a political situation where they're saying, well, if he's charged, that means the people will be happy or the family will be happy. But then if they don't go hard at him, the other people will be happy. You see what I'm saying? This can't be boiled down to no politics or compromise. This has to be an uncompromising prosecution. Now, he should be charged with greater charges, and if he has to come down to a lesser charge somehow, then that's fine. But I mean, the family wants second-degree murder, which is intent to kill or intent to inflict serious bodily injury, intent to kill with recklessness. So, I'm for this. To be clear, I'm for stronger charges as the family is. But on these charges, I'm for prosecuting and hammering hard, not giving Presley a break. Presley is a murderer. There was no way the government is supposed to come out here today in the state and to say that he should be allowed at the community, allowed in the grocery store. This man has anger management problems that are deadly to human life. And he has had no treatment or nothing, and no punishment at all. He's a danger and should not be walking the streets.
I have two more questions. One is kind of lightweight, and I'm going to ask the lightweight before I ask the heavy one. The lightweight is, I noticed some people that came in with no sleeves in their shirt. It may be a small thing, but that scared me in itself, because every courtroom that I've been in, they mostly tell you got to have sleeves.
I'm not as concerned about that. I'm concerned about that, but I'm not as concerned about that as what those people with those sleeves and no sleeves and tattoos may represent, and how them being close friends of him may represent what he represents. To me, that warrants further investigation into what his real afterlife or outside life is, and is he affiliated with groups that are racist and white supremacists. That's what that signals to me, because I know those kind of groups and men, and they send off flags in my head. So I understand about them being in there, but I'm honestly happy to be in there because it gave us more evidence as to the nature of so-called clean-cut wrestling.
Okay.
So-called clean-cut wrestling.
And my last question was this. When I was coming out of the courtroom, I came ahead of you guys because I wanted to do this interview and I had to go with my camera. But I had a person that writes for a newspaper said to me, he said, well, how did you feel about it? I said, well, I think that that's all they could have done with a clean face. And he told me, well, it shocked me. And he works for the newspaper. And I asked him, well, why do you say that? He said, because I've been up here a long time around this courtroom. And he said, I've seen it go the other way.
Sure,
and I thought that was interesting.
Sure,
and so maybe the participation, and
absolutely. There's a general standing rule that concern from the community about what's going on in the case has some impact on the case. It's much different than if nobody was in the courtroom and all the Presley's people were there. Sure, this being a matter of concern for the family and the community and the strong participation, I believe certainly was helpful.
Malik, one more question.
Well,
because but let me ask you a question. How does the family feel about this? I mean, you all committed, you united. I mean, just give us a little bit of how the family feels about what happened here today about the verdict.
As a whole, we definitely we're pleased with the outcome because it could have went a different way, given what Attorney said here a few moments ago. However, we are a family that is united and we understand who is the head of our lives. And that is what it ultimately is going to lead us and guide us through this entire process. And that's where we see.
Okay. Malik, finally, I'd like you to close this out. Where and how far are you willing to go with this case?
I'm willing to go as far as I have the power to go in this case, which is to prosecute this city and the county and the officers to the maximum that the civil law will allow, which is to the maximum level. And that's what we're going to do. And what we're also going to do is to talk to advocate, and to pressure the district attorney to be on his job. I've been in other states where the district attorney was not prosecuting all of the charges that he should have, and I have forced district attorneys to add hate crimes to the defendants, which extended their sentence, and have done things that district attorneys didn't want to do. So I'm willing to do all of that on a legal level. And that's all I'll say. I'm willing to do anything, really, but on a legal level, I'm willing to do just what I said as strong as I can. And that's all I want to say. Right
Appreciate
now.
you very much. Thank you, man.
I'm really fed up with the police murder of black men.
Across the nation.
But I represent someone here. So what I am is I'm a representative. And as a representative, that's as strong as I will be, and that's very strong as a legal representative.
Thank you very much. Once again, this is the Ghetto Free Press, George Voss Rhymes.
For this young lady, her daughter, and her daughter. So that you got to understand here, there's lives that are affected by this. That's what we want to understand. Lives are being affected. God bless you, man.
Okay. Thank you very much. Once again, this is the Ghetto Free Press. I'm George Voss Rhymes out of Valdosta, Georgia. And I report what others ignore. I'm over here because I was called. I very seldom go any place unless I'm called. And I am overwhelmed by the number of news cameras that was here today. I am overwhelmed by the participation from the family. And in addition to that, I am happy to be here in Camden County, wherein at least they have the United States flag and the Georgia flag flying high. In many counties in Georgia, they do not have a Georgia flag flying consistently over schools and other government agencies. So I want to commend the city and the county commissioners here in Camden County for recognizing our active duty, disabled, retired military veterans, along with the Air National Guard. Thank you so much. Once again, this is George Voss Rhymes, the Ghetto Free Press, and we report what others ignore.
Tonight we're learning more about the Kingsland officer who investigators say shot and killed 33-year-old Tony Green, a father of 3. News4JAX reporter Janice Harris has the officer's entire personnel file and any incidents Tony Green had with Kingsland Police.
25-year-old ZECHARIAH Presley has worked for Kingsland Police 1 year and 1 month. He's had 9 incidents as an officer. Before Presley was hired, the department found 10 flags that warranted further review, including domestic violence against his wife, but Kingsland Police still hired Presley. According to the Kingsland Police Department, Presley had 9 incidents as an officer. Let's take a look at some of the incidents. Presley drove at 100 miles per hour in his own car while off duty trying to catch a driver who was operating recklessly. The driver got away. A traffic stop for an unknown reason. The man wrote in a letter to KPD saying he felt he was in fear for his life from Presley and another officer who would park in front of his house. An internal affairs investigation found the claims were unfounded. That man was black. Presley tasered a man who was drunk and disorderly who threatened to throw bullets at officers. He was black. Presley tasered a man acting suspiciously who would not show officers the contents of a bag. It was drug paraphernalia. He was white. Presley tasered a man who showed up without an appointment to speak with the Camden County School Superintendent and refused to leave. He was white. In the reports, Presley is advised he needs to improve procedures and protocols. None of the incidents involved Tony Green. There is one letter from a citizen commending Presley for his professional approach to law enforcement. That man was black. Kingsland police files show that Tony Green was given a ticket for suspended license in March. Green was arrested once for a misdemeanor in 2016. Kingsland police have interacted with Green at least 8 times. Either he was calling them, police made a traffic stop, or an officer initiated the interaction. We can find only one time Tony Green and Officer Presley were in the same incident report. March 12th, the report shows a woman called police and Presley and another officer responded to the call. The caller accused Green and another woman of trespassing, but no arrest was made. Janice Harris, Channel 4, the local station.
What's your name?
Raquel Adonis.
And where are you from?
I'm from San Jose, California.
Okay, and you said you've been to the crime scene. We're about to go over there. You say you've been already?
Yes, I've been to the crime scene 3 times already.
Would you explain what happened, if you please?
Well, the first time I went to the crime scene, it was the very next day. And I went there, I prayed, I witnessed the memorial that's out there for Anthony Green. And I also was very concerned because I said it's not even 24 hours and the crime scene is not protected. Now, if you have any criminal background or in criminal justice, you understand that you got to protect a crime scene. Well, the crime scene was not protected. It could be contaminated. There could be evidence that can be destroyed. A couple of days later, we went back out there again, and I was surprised that the city actually had, and I do have it on my video, my footage, the city's out there cleaning up the crime scene, and that's city dollars. How are you going to pay city dollars to clean up a crime scene that it's not even 1 week into the investigation? That crime scene should be covered. It should be protected. It should not be open to a cleanup like that. And God can only imagine what kind of evidence was destroyed because that crime scene was not properly protected by the city and the county.
I want to thank you for that, but another question I want to ask you, when you say not protected, did they have the orange strip that
there was no police tape.
There's no police tape.
From the area where I went,
yes.
Where the area where the car stalled or where the car got turned off, yeah. And went all up the block where he ran, where the victim ran, up to the area. And between that point and that point, this officer has time to think about what he's doing. That's not no passion of the heat. I could understand if you caught somebody in bed with your woman, that can be a passion of the heat kind of crime, but this is not that kind of crime. He pursued, he didn't have to. There was no tape covering each point at all. No police tape. Not that to even show that there had been any kind of victim at that place, besides the memorial of what the people had put up.
And one other thing, how many days was it from the time it happened? You say you went out there and there was no tape, and that the city started cleaning.
The very next day, there was no tape. The very next day, because it happened around 10:30 at night. Right. So the very next day, in the afternoon in daylight, there was no tape around. Wow. A couple of days after that, the city was out there using taxpayers' dollars to clean up.
Okay.
And that can bring lack of evidence.
Well, I want to thank you for sharing that with me, but there's another thing I want to ask you on tape too. I'm going to give you my email address, and if you could send me the footage that you have, I will include it in this tape behind what you are saying to let people know what you are saying is truth, because I'm the Get To Free Press and I report what others ignore, and I believe in the truth, and that's all we want is the truth.
I believe in the truth.
Yes.
Justice and truth always.
And what's your name once again?
Just is just, and what is truth is truth.
And what you say you do at rallies? You say you do something. What was that?
Oh. I say my wings.
Power to the people. All right. across the lines, and I was just talking to the young man here, and he was telling me something that's very interesting. I already know about other cities and counties and municipalities, but he has something that is worthy of being repeated. And what's your name?
Pat Betchick.
A nice meeting you, Mr. Betchick.
Yeah, just say Pat.
Pat, nice meeting you. Will you please tell me what you just said in the camera, please?
Okay. Yes, sir. My stepson passed away in 2013 in a firehouse, house fire. What you need to know, though, is that previous to that, he was never arrested, never convicted of several charges, and yet he came here to this courthouse and they sent him to 1 year in the probation detention center, even though he wasn't in violation of probation. What happens is the district attorney and the public defender get together over lunch with a file of cases and they plea bargain everything to avoid it going to court. If it does go to court, it's usually 90% settled, and the judge may have a question, but it's mostly just an act for the public, as if the laws of this country are actually being enforced as they should.
So you telling me, so you don't, so from what you are saying, you don't have much confidence in the system?
That would be an overstatement.
That's an overstatement?
Yes, sir.
Okay, but you will say that that's what happens. You're not saying that you don't have faith in it, but you're just saying that's what you know happens.
It's how things really work.
Yeah. How do you feel saying that? You don't, I mean, you being white, you're not fearful when you make that statement? You mean, why don't you feel like a lot of, I go to a lot of cities in Canada.
I work at Missions for Camden. I've learned there is no white, there is no black. We're all human, we're all struggling, and that if there's any one color, we should all be purple.
Hey, and what did I tell you? I told you I thank you for willing to do it on camera, and you did that. Yeah. That's enough. I want to appreciate it. I don't want to add anything else to it, but what you said. Thank you very much. Appreciate you. And where you live?
St. Mary's, Georgia.
Oh, you're in St. Mary's. I got to come down there. Yeah, I've never been there before. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Yeah.
For the first time tonight, we are hearing the dramatic moments before and after a Kingsland police officer shot and killed a man after a traffic stop.
So this is what we know right now. We have learned the identity of the officer who pulled the trigger in this case. First Coast News reporter Eric Alvarez is live in Kingsland to break it all down for us. Eric.
Well, investigators right now are still trying to piece together exactly what happened right here between Anthony Green and Officer Presley. Now, radio calls obtained by First Coast News indicate that the police officers did not give dispatchers a whole lot of information that night. Right around 10:48 p.m., Kingsland police officers reported two men running from a traffic stop. According to the GBI, Kingsland police tried to stop a car driven by 33-year-old Anthony Green when he and another man ran off. One of the men got away, but Officer ZECHARIAH Presley found Green near the Pineland Bank on King Avenue. The GBI says a brief altercation ensued. Presley fired multiple shots. Green died. The officers then requested first responders, but dispatchers said they didn't have a whole lot of information to relay.
Flight 3 Engine 3, you're assigned to a black male. Officers aren't giving us much information. We asked them what they needed the squad for. They realized it was going to be a male subject for shots fired.
The GBI is still interviewing witnesses and has not identified the other man who ran away from the traffic stop. The Bureau is awaiting autopsy results from a crime lab in Savannah. Live in Kingsland, Eric Alvarez, First Coast News, on your side.
evidence.
Save us, but ignorance will destroy us. And when you hate others the way they hate you, then you're no better than they are. Because somewhere I read, and I'll say where it is. St. John 8:32 says, and you shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. And if you don't have love in your heart, you can't have truth, brother, because you can't have it both ways. And once again, I want to thank everybody for coming out. My brother right here, I don't call your name, I appreciate what you did, sharing that knowledge with us. I don't need the video because make sure that the people that watch my video understand. Don't go around operating on hate, because there's something in this world that even white folk understand, and that is this. White people fought for me before I knew what the fight was all about. Now, black folk fought for me as well. And so I need all the help that I can get, because the white people are intertwined with us. And let me say this, while I'm at it, if I may. At my family reunion 5 years ago, I don't take pride in it, but one thing I do know, for the first time in my life, white people came to my family reunion, and they had a part of my history that I didn't know about. They came in Thomas County, Georgia. They came wanting to connect us with the lineage of their own family. So let y'all dig on that and hate if you want. Once again, in love and kindness have I drawn thee. The ghetto free prayers, we report what others ignore. Power to the people, and God bless us all. That was just them at the house breathing, man. Yes, nice to get that in, but my partner, that's how they were dealing with their therapy, man. He's a carpenter anyway, so I mean, yeah, I got DLs when he texts me. Minister Justice, I'm the minister of law. That's once in a lifetime. I think I had to deal with these issues. My grandma them had to deal with it. Man, his daughter's so hurt, man, she just crying.
It was a packed house as people in Southeast Georgia came together to honor Tony Green, the man shot and killed by a Kingsland police officer believed to have been running away during a traffic stop. The now former officer is in jail, charged with voluntary manslaughter. News 4 Jax reporter Allison Henning spoke with people close to Green who say they can bury him with a sense of justice.
Hundreds of people from across Camden County packed Refreshing Oasis Church this morning, paying their respects to Tony Green. The 33-year-old was shot and killed 10 days ago during a traffic stop where he ran from police. Kingsland police officer ZECHARIAH PRESLEY is the man who pulled the trigger multiple times.
In this county here, if you do wrong, you will be brought to justice.
The ex-officer now sits in the Glenn County Jail after a judge denied him bond on Friday.
A life was taken all too soon at the hands of an officer who is hired to protect and serve. Instead, he chased and killed.
Many attending Green's service wore shirts reading "Justice for Punch." Loved ones say today's turnout goes to show how much he's going to be missed.
He never met a stranger. Tony was love. You know, he was full of joy. Everybody loved him. I mean, he was an outgoing person.
As this tight-knit community moves one step closer to closure, his family tells News4JAX they want peace, justice, and unity.
It's time for the community to come together and unite together and pray together and stop all this hatred towards each other and stop all this bickering and enviness towards each other.
In Kingsland, Allison Henning, Channel 4, the local station.
Attorney Green?
Yes, sir. We're here seeking justice for the family.
Tony Green.
Justice for the community.
We're here for all
Justice
the people
for
that's
America.
racially profiled and terrorized. We just on our job, man. It's another day at work, unfortunately.